so much gloom hiding the reality. It's just a beautiful day. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's just yeah, it's a beautiful day. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's just yeah. Take a look into the sky. Take a look into the sky.
Look in the sky.
Keep your head up high.
High. Keep your head high.
Take a look into the sky.
And the sun is out, shining brightly here at beautiful Gulfstream Park. Sunday afternoon as we get ready to put the finishing touches on week number 2 of the spring meet. Keisha Courtney, Jason Blewett with you, catching up from our clubhouse studios here at good old GP. We are indeed fast and firm. 11 races on tap today.
That's right. We're closing out the racing week with 11 races. As you mentioned, our first post today is 1:10 p.m. and definitely been a fun start these first couple of weeks. We had a few 2-year-old races. We're still keeping things going strong here at Gulfstream Park, and we'll get a couple of days off coming up, but obviously a lot going on around the country too, and it's fun being able to follow those Gulfstream grads.
Oh, absolutely, including Magnum Moon, who was the star of the show yesterday, winning a very popular victory at 4-5 in the Grade 1 $1 million Arkansas Derby, and he obviously punched his ticket to being probably in the top 3 wagering choices among Justify and Mendelssohn just 20 days from now on the first Saturday in May. So Magnum Moon filling out the Pletcher Quartet. He's got the big 4, which is pretty incredible.
It really is, and of course you do have the Florida Derby winner here, Audible, and Vino Rosso, very impressive as well last weekend. So it's just amazing to see Todd Pletcher's success in those prep races, of course, with last year's Kentucky Derby winner Always Dreaming. So we'll see if it's a repeat.
And speaking of Todd Pletcher, he had the star of yesterday's card here in My Miss Tappan, who couldn't have looked any better in her first start off. About a 7-month layoff, earning a 90 buyer in her 7th furlong victory. She might be a horse we're keeping tabs on. Well, she certainly is, but keeping tabs on to the extent that the Princess Rooney during the Summit of Speed might be the main target for her, at least early on through the first half of 2018. Speaking of the fillies and mares, they've got the call in the first 5 races today, and good field coming up in race number 1 as we have just under $4,000 waiting for you in that first super high 5 on the afternoon, and a rare dirt opener on the day. That'll also be the starting point, Sunday's first of the 50-cent early pick 5, and Acacia with just 11 on the card there. There's no middle pick 4, but 11. Boy, about 330 large in that Rainbow 6.
That sounds pretty good. It does start in race number 6 this afternoon. I'll take a stab at the sequence coming up a little bit later on. And Jason will have you covered for that late pick 5, which starts in race number 7 today. As always, just a 50-cent wager, so lots of opportunities for you to get some action.
Should be a great day, fast and firm. Weatherman, Mother Nature, they've been very good to us of late here at Gulfstream, and that trend continues this afternoon as we start the card a little after 1:10 p.m. opening pick 5, and a good race on the dirt. Seems like a rare dirt opener. We always seem to start, and it's a beautiful thing here at Gulfstream, cards on the grass course. Today, that's not the case. We're on the main track, and who do you have in the first?
Well, it is a nice race. You're absolutely right. And we see very early on in the wagering the number 3 Dancy, who came off of a more than 2-year layoff and has actually run 2 very good races for Ralph Nix. So we'll see what we get from her. But I am very intrigued by Flora Fantasy, who's a big price right now. I don't think she'll be quite as big a price as we get to post time. Making her first start for Efren Losa Jr., who's an incredible 44% on the year for 2018. In race number 2, just going with 2 horses. Grace's Drama probably taking a lot of money first off the claim for Barboza out of a key race. In race number 3, I'm using 3 horses in there. Certainly Safi Joseph's drop-down runner First Mistress is logical. In the 4th race, the speed of Miss K. O'Shea for Kathleen O'Connell, though 0 for 6 on the turf, which is the biggest question, but a very good barn that we all have have a lot of respect for, and of course that early speed. In the 5th race, Zerpa is the one to beat with Italian Smile, who just blew the field away last time out. I did, however, back myself up with Gamer Girl because she was very good last time, and that's the beauty of this closeout race. You've got horses that are coming in off big performances.
For good connections. Absolutely. With Tammy Levy setting out Gamer Girl, who might be the speed of the speed, and then the aforementioned Gilberto Zerpa with Italian Smile, who quite simply is just the horse to beat in the 5th race, the back end of this Sunday early pick 5. But as we were saying, the gals get their chance in the spotlight. The first 5 races today at Gulfstream for the fillies and mares, and we start things out with the Florida bred gals, 3-and-up fillies and mares, in fact, in the Sunday opener at 7 furlongs on the main track. This is a pretty good field that includes the number 3 Dancy, and why don't we get right into her last start on February 25th. Clearly, she's had some issue, and she got a great ride on this afternoon beneath Tyler Gaffalione, sitting the pocket off a duel and ranging up 3 wide. But she's had some trouble staying around. She's only run 3 times, and she's 5 years old. I think conventional wisdom, though, says off this effort, and she was very game, taking the lead and losing by a tough neck when she gave and where she gave competitive player everything she could handle while battling inside. She's supposed to take a step forward today for Mr. Tyler and Ralph Nix, as Tyler comes in off a huge Saturday.
Oh, absolutely. And as you said, she's got her own fair share of questions, but she actually went off as the favorite last time, and she ran very, very well. So you have to imagine that she's going to take a step forward, and with a very good jockey and trainer behind her. Now, I alluded to being intrigued by Flora Fantasy, and you saw the same things that I did. And just to put some numbers and some visual to what we've been talking about, here's a stat over the past 5 years with trainer Efren Losa Jr. First after the trainer switch on the dirt, and unbelievable numbers here. 8 for 22 winning for 36%, and just about 60% of the time in the money with a positive ROI. Of course, we probably know him best here for Fear the Cowboy, who was 4th in the Pegasus World Cup and just such an honest and awesome runner. But this is a barn that does a very good job. 44
wins here at Gulfstream over the last 5 years at 25% for Efren Loza Jr. And don't be deterred by thinking, well, that stat we just showed or the numbers we're using are a bit skewed because they're at Tampa or they're out of town and they're inflated to an extent. Not the case. No. This is a very good barn who can win and does win indeed at Gulfstream Park. And also the last sort of part of tying a ribbon around today's first races, and it concerns my top pick as well and your runner-up in the 2 Fontanaza, is how does the pace play out? Because it does appear that Flora Fantasy should get a good pace to close into going 7 furlongs, and both Fontanaza and Dancy are going to have to be very good and on their game because there's a good chance they could hook up mere strides out of the starting gate.
Absolutely. They both have some natural speed, and Fontanaza showed a lot more speed switching to the dirt, which looking at her last time and then looking at her performance seemed to be what she wanted all along. So smart move by that barn for a horse that was pretty expensive. She cost $125,000, and it looks like they've really just figured her out, and I can't wait to hear Ron Nicoletti say her name.
Absolutely. I was going to try to emulate him, but I won't do it justice.
He's
and I said, I said, why spoil it? Little teaser for our man Ron Nicoletti joining us for the first race prattle. As we move on to race number 2, we head to the Gulfstream Park turf at 7.5 furlongs with these 3-and-up filly and mare 2 lifetime claimers. The more I looked around, the harder it became to pick against and formulate a solid argument against the big favorite in the 5 Graces drama. Not a huge fan of even the minor or modest drop off the claiming price from 16 to today's claiming tag at $12,500. But man, first time Barboza, Gaffalione, there's just not much in here for the 5 Graces drama to run against.
And she has some natural speed too. She's pretty versatile. She can be forwardly placed, and she comes out of a key race that produced 3 next out winners, all of them getting by our speed figures 72, 73 in that range. So definitely key race, key competition that she's coming out of.
All right, we'll move on to Sunday's 3rd as the day continues, and we volley right back over to the fast main track. back, and we cut back to 3/4 with these $50,000 to $40,000 3-and-up filly mare maiden claimers. We might be looking at a very short price double in terms of races 2 and 3 if Grace's Drama does indeed, and she's an overwhelming favorite early on in the early double wagering. But if she wins race 2, I love that you went 3 deep here in your early pick 5. But to be fair, this is a race that quite simply centers around and may simply end with the number 5 First Mistress, who's just got a lot of juicy angles and a lot of optimism with how she looks on paper.
She does. She's run 3 races. All of them have been in special weight company, and all of them have been in the money finishes. So it looks like they needed something. They tried adding the blinkers last time, and she finished 3rd again. That was also going the mile. She's progressively stretched out in distance. They're going to cut her back to 6, and the biggest thing, of course, is that she's going to drop in for the 50 tag.
No doubt. I think she found the right field. It's the cut back to 3/4. I'm going to take her over the 2 For Love, who's got some early speed, and I have an easy time envisioning her as she turns back or cuts back slightly to 3/4, that her and the 7 Pretty Shady, who does pick up hot riding Miguel Vasquez, that they show the way up the backstretch.
And it's funny that Rohan Crichton has 2 in this race, and you liked one for your exacta, and I liked the other. I took the first-time starter, the 6 High Candy, out of a precocious mare who only won once, but she won it 2, and this is a filly by High Cotton, so some win early pedigree there, though she is debuting at 3, training at Gulfstream Park West.
And a busy Sunday here for Mr. Gaffleone, who's involved with 3 very live horses, including a current even money shot in Dancy to start the card. He's on First Mistress, and he rides Grace's Drama in the 2nd. Could be a very big Sunday here for Tyler, who will be on one of the speeds, or at least presumable speeds, in race number 4 as we head back to the turf. And after scratches, we have a field of 7 in this $12,500 claimer for 3-and-up fillies and mares. Now, Tyler will be on the number 2, as you had said in the early pick 5, Miss Kay O'Shea, who's one of a couple of speeds in the race, along with the 7 Murray's Girl. That is a plot and a layer to this race in itself. The other major layer is, do we see and continue with the good recent sharp form of the likely favorite, the number 6 Can't Catch the Racks, who I'll tell you, Edgar Zayas, one of the top journeyman riders on this circuit, he's going to need to be as good as Robbie Alvarado was last time out in a race we'll bring you back on March 17th, because although this horse was 2-to-1 and basically co-favored, Robbie took every edge he could get after breaking from the rail, saving ground for as long as possible, and just deftly and smoothly angling out once they came off the bend for the turn for home. Perfect ride, perfect tread, but clearly a filly who has really responded here in South Florida with trainer David Fox.
Oh, she definitely has. Her 3 races since coming down to Florida have been very strong. She was beaten by very slim margins, and then last time out finally got the win, and it really was a good ride from Robbie. And Edgar Zayas, certainly no issues there picking up the mount with him. He's done a great job. And yes, there is some other speed with Murray's Girl. Murray's Girl is just 2 for 21, and it's been a long time since she's seen the winner's circle. I did end up just taking Miss Kay O'Shea. As I said, the biggest negative, of course, is that she is 0 for 6 on the turf. She's never won on the grass before, and she ran 2 runaway victories at Tampa on the dirt. However, Kathleen O'Connell, she plays the Tampa game better than anybody else. She is doing very, very well there, as a lot of well-spotted horses. So for her to bring this horse down to Gulfstream to run her on the turf, I thought that she certainly feels strongly about her, and she just might be a touch faster, maybe a touch better.
I think she's a touch faster, and I do think she's a little better in terms of just her overall quality than the 7 Murray's Girl, and she may be, again, the inside speed with Murray's Girl in a hard chase. If they hook up, they may just melt the race down for Can't Catch the Racks, but an intriguing little cat-and-mouse game between Tyler and Edgar Zayas riding Can't Catch the Racks for our good buddy Jeff Siskin, who's one of the good guys. He's the majority owner, and we like having Jeff around during the championship meet. Here's the 5th in the meantime, and we'll finish off that early pick 5. A pick 5, as we work our way through it, Keisha, might be on the very...
Short price.
Yeah, a little chalky, a little formful. We'll see what happens here in the back end as we have a pretty key early scratch of the outside horse, the number 8 Intactus. That leaves us with a field of 7 and a serious favorite here in the number 2 Italian Smile. The one cause for pause that jumped off the page at me, I don't like how gingerly this filly by Gio Ponti has been handled, considering she was claimed for 12.5, given 42 days before Zerpa ran her back, and then she's had another 60 days, and she's back in for the bottom level claiming tag. But all that aside, off her last win, she just looks really hard to beat, even if there are some issues behind the scenes that Zerpa and his team have done a good job with.
She won by 10 last time. They put the blinkers on, and even off the claim, you kind of you bite the bullet, if you will, and drop her in class to where she can win. And she was clearly not winning at those tougher levels. Even just in the 12.5, it was a wet track 2 starts back, but she has the speed as well. And here's a stat that I found just to kind of back things up. Again, she'll be a very short price, but Gilberto Zerpa with winners last time out in low-level claiming races. He's 11 for 34 and 20 for 34 in the money for a positive ROI. And Amiseo Jaramillo stays aboard. Just second off the claim in general, good moves for this barn. So I thought she was the one to beat, but I did end up using Gamer Girl in my pick 5 ticket because this horse was very impressive last time. Talk about a horse that really just kind of blew the roof off everybody first off the claim, and she was flattered when Schmitz came back to win.
And it seems like she's just gotten, quite simply, her act together on the dirt. She's no world beater, but she was good for Joe Orsino, and arguably even better first time off the claim for Tammy Levy. And she does, I think, if you want to really get down into the minutia, she may have the better post being towards the outside, where Italian Smile is not slow, and she may get hooked up as the inside speed. She's going to have to run pretty hard early if she wants to keep up with the number 6 Gamer Girl. I would also imagine the Colts and Geldings are starting to get a little antsy because the fillies and mares, it's been all about the girl power. But fear not, we do have those Colts coming, including a lot of dough in the Rainbow Six after this quick timeout.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet, we are racing.
Welcome to my playground.
And we're certainly playing today at Gulfstream Park, and it's good to have you with us. Hope you're having a great start to your Sunday. A little afternoon as Acacia and Jason catch up with you from our clubhouse studios on the 3rd floor. Got some new digs, and we have got, boy, a lot of money. You could buy some new digs if you take down this jackpot Rainbow Six.
Oh, absolutely. You get that one unique ticket, and it could be a very nice payday for you. I'll take a stab at the sequence, trying to give it just a basic ticket, a little guide ticket here. And as we always say, even if you don't get the one unique ticket, 6 out of 6 can pay really nice as well. I'm using 2 horses to start things off in here. I might be a little light in this first race, as it kind of looks like an anything can happen affair, but I did think it was a race crying out for a first-time starter, so I'm going to ride the Lily Curtin's bandwagon and use David's Boy. In race number 7, I use the inside 2, who just looks so logical off of their last performances in Diamond Mint and Stoneheart, who had a world of trouble last time out. In race number 8, as we move right along, I'm using 3 horses in there. Again, just horses that have run solidly in the past. Dependable Phil, coming off of, I thought, a pretty good effort as well for Peter Walder, whose barn had a nice winner yesterday. I'm going to go with 3 horses in race number 9. I am really intrigued by Shake of Shakes getting back on the turf. I think that he might be a short price, but
good
Fearless,
race.
Very good race. Yeah. Fearless Dragon's been very good as well. And the 10th race, I know you probably like the Michelle Nevin first off the claim and top of the page, and I do too, and this horse has just been so solid and consistent. And we wrap things up in race 11, and obviously the horse to beat looks to be Harbin Ice, coming off of the layoff and back to the dirt. A filly who once ran in the Sire Stakes, now dropping in for the 10,000. She's got that outside post. Outside post at a field of 11 after 3 early scratches. And speaking of those Sunday scratches, Pete Aiello will be coming up in about 15 minutes with your opening
set. Not many notable defections on the card, which is always a good thing. And in terms of the opening leg of this $330,000 Rainbow Six carryover, we have no scratches to report. We have also got a firster who you and I both think will run pretty well and give a good account of himself in the 7. David's boy, who's got Lily Kurtnitz calling the shots today with the Misael riding, and I think we were all really blown away yesterday with the win early on in yesterday's card by Uncle B. Got a 92 buyer and appears to be, or at least have the potential to be, one of the top turf horses here over the next few months.
What a sharp claim that was,
Amazing.
too. And now 3 for 3 with Lily, and a horse that just runs every single time. So really great to see your barn having so much success, too. I know we've become fans. And this call, he just has a look to him, too. He's got a Misael Jaramillo up. The dam never tried the grass, and this is her first full byline of David. But I am going to give him a shot. I think he's debuting for the 12-5, logical level. And given the horses that figure most, they've just had so many chances, been beaten at short prices, as I just dropped my ring as I was getting so excited about this first time
That was a good
starter.
catch, actually.
I caught the pen. So
Oh, the ring's on the floor?
Rings on the floor.
It'll
We'll
stay
get
there.
It later.
It's all good. We need some assistance here. Where's Ronnie? Come on, Ronnie. Anyway, bake light for me, little Nick Juarez action. It's the drop. It's the fact that this horse is just quite simply faced better horses, not really factoring, let's be honest. This horse has not been too much of a serious factor at crunch time, but I do think this is a good spot to get a little relief in terms of claiming price as he dips in for 12-5 for trainer Marcus Vitale. And the real hang-up in the race, and I get why you took a first-time starter, we've got our good buddy, cousin Tino, who, I mean, dude, Tino, you're 0 for 27. You got to get there one of these days.
One of these days. He gets apprentice Raylu Gutierrez, and he's shown a lot more speed lately, so maybe that'll help him turn the tables.
All right, as we flip the page, we're on to race number 6. 7th race does kick off Sunday's late pick 5. 5/8 on the turf. These are 3 and up $16,000 claimers set to battle. And my late pick 5, I use the same 2 horses you've got in your Rainbow Six, and I might be a touch light. That was the one thing I said, But you know what? Diamond Mint from the rail has been really sharp and has that good early speed where he can get a good trip either as the inside speed or tucked away in the pocket. And Stoneheart's going to get through this condition one of these days as he comes out of a traffic-filled trip that you'll see in just a few seconds. Went 3 deep in race number 8. That's a pretty good turf race, and I certainly respect trainer Peter Walder with dependable Phil. I've liked Shake of Shakes throughout his career, and it's been more of a layoff, injury-prone and plagued career. Didn't use him today. I think he's really going to have to like the turf to defeat the likes of Diddley, General McGooby, and Fearless Dragon. We've got the Magoobster in the mix. It's a nice little race between those 3, and maybe 4 if you want to include Shake of Shakes. My one opinion occasion, it's funny, I guess I'm that obvious and you know me pretty well. Big Michelle Nevin fan. I think top of the page is in off a good win. And I said, you know what? I needed a single somewhere. If I can win these supporting or at least hit the other 4 legs, maybe I can turn top of the page into a 40-to-1 shot as that horse is off the claim from Michelle and wrapping it up with a 3, 5, and 12. Early speed from the number 3 Grace B might be good enough to dispose of that field. There are not many options in the last today that jump off the page at you, right?
Tricky race for sure.
It's a tricky race, and you do have 11. We lost 3 from 14 down to 11, but it is a big field on the dirt to cap the card and the week. But let's move back to race number 7 here for these $16,000 claimers, and we'll show you again. It was almost a double whammy last time out for Stoneheart, who had severe trouble early on. This was a case of him breaking with the field as the number 2 horse, and he's in the blue, completely steadied and checked out of any position he could have achieved early on. Now, he's able to, get covered up, sit in the 2 path or so. He tries to go outside, and he can just never, ever get out there in the clear. And he's just, not that he's steadying and checking repeatedly, but he's just never in a spot where he can kind of just get into a nice groove and a nice flow. Even here, he's trying to thread the needle between. Good effort in defeat from the number 2 horse, Stoneheart, who once again is the deuce on Sunday's card.
And he was only beaten by 3/4 of a length last time. And as he looked like he was finally getting in the clear, the number 4 horse just got the jump on him and moved a little bit sooner. And he kind of looks to me like a horse that's not necessarily comfortable going between horses. So we'll see if he can work out a trip. And that was why I did pick against him. I certainly used him on the Rainbow Six, but it's been a while since he's seen the winner's circle. It's been a while.
You want to really love him, but there are reasons that you go, well, I could envision him also, and I picked him on top, and I do think he'll run well, but there's a part of me that also gets anybody that says he'll be right there, but he'll lose by this much with a great trip and a great ride again. Whereas Diamond Mint, I mean, can really get down in the trenches and mix it up from gate to wire.
Well, that's what I was thinking. He can be forwardly placed. He can either stalk from the inside post, or if Edgar Zayas decides to send, which might be maybe his best course of action, or maybe just to sit off of New Champion and Smart Dude, who have speed from the outside. And his last 3 races have been near misses, and normally I don't like horses like that, but I do think that he's just run against some very good horses, and he doesn't have his buddy Too Exagerous, who they always used to be knocking heads quite a bit, so maybe this is just going to be the right spot for him.
All right, Steve Caceres and Edgar Zayas up from that inside post. As we flip the page, race number 8 will be run on the turf. Field of 10 after scratches in this 3-and-up $16,000 claiming race. In fact, you could just take out the MTO on the outside in Aristelli's, and trainer Peter Walder, as you had noted correctly, had a nice win yesterday, made the chalk players happy midway through the card with smart return. And Peter back in the mix here with Gaffleone as well on Dependable Phil, who, looking around and trying to come up with some interesting replays, I thought this was one worth pulling, and the boys upstairs have got it ready to roll, and they've got this horse highlighted, the grayson of Lemon Drop Kid, who had a lot of good things go on for him in the sense that he was covered up, able to save a good amount of ground, but the problems for Dependable Phil happen right here when the number 7 horse in Stay and Cruise shuts the door and just jams him back inside. He'll try to finish up gamely between rivals, but the horse that's taking the lead and the other horse, the number 6, closed things up. I don't think he would have won, but there wasn't a smooth, unencumbered trip on the outside most recently for Dependable Phil.
And poor Dependable Phil has been a little bit trouble prone, and he is kind of like a Stoneheart type in that he likes to come from off of the pace, and sometimes with horses like that, especially on this turf course, they just end up finding some trouble. And we love Dependable Phil. He's another one that we root for, of course. I, like you, went with the 6, Remember the Main, just based off of his recent form. I know he was beaten as the favorite last time, but his last 2 races have been good, and he's pretty tactical.
He is, and he'll get another rematch. And I went 3 deep, every bit of the 4, 5, and 6 in my late pick 5. And I also like that all 3 of our horses have enough of a cruising speed, a positional speed, where they can get themselves into the race and maybe make their own luck from there. Now, Remember the Main squares off against the number 5, Can't Take It With You, who I think also runs well here. And as we work our way through the card and we're nearly into the final pick 3, Lily Kurtnitz could have a pretty big day. At least 3 live contenders that I can think of.
After a big win with Uncle B yesterday, and then coming right back with some very logical horses in here, and even, as you mentioned, General Magooby, who was the stakes winner. So exciting to see him back as well.
Absolutely. 3-wide trip last time out for Can't Take It With You. Maybe a better ride, more of a ground-saving tactical ride today with Raylu Gutierrez getting aboard. 9th race, speaking of the Magoobster, we've got him front and center in the day and the week's final turf race. Wrap things up on the grass course with a pretty good 35K 3-lifetime optional claiming race, in which Diddley's run well on the turf, General Magooby's run very well. It has really been an overachiever by a $500 stallion in general quarters. I think Fearless Dragon, a wise claim, and maybe a horse who might be slightly better on the turf now with Jane Sabelli, and Shake of Shakes, who's done some pretty good things in the past and will have that early speed as he tries to recapture some of that old glory.
Yes, he's definitely been a bit of a head scratcher, and I remember really liking him last time out, as did all of the general public, as he was bet down 70 cents to the dollar, and he was beaten by a Jason Service horse, Coleman Rocky, that nobody really saw coming because he was going from turf to dirt. That said, I think that this is a horse that's got quite a bit of speed. He does have some turf pedigree. He certainly has that. His little half-sister, Homemade Salsa, we saw her start out here at Gulfstream. She's actually better on the turf, and she's now grade 3 placed. Now, here's a stat with Mike Maker, and I like trying to narrow down these Maker stats because he has so many horses. This is just kind of a specific stat with horses going from dirt to turf that were in the money last time out. in mid-level claimers. So 22% win, just under 50% of the time in the money, and still a positive ROI. We know that Mike Maker does well with pretty much everything, but just wanted to highlight this because it is so specific.
And that early speed that Shake of Shakes brings to today's 9th race could really give him an edge over more of a one-pace closer like the Ford Diddley. Fearless Dragon likes to lay back and make that one run. General McGooby can put himself in the race, though, and he's got that going for him, and he's kept some really, really good company.
He really has. We haven't seen him since December in the Tropical Park Derby, where he was pretty well beaten, but he really has stamped himself, winning a stake back on July 4th and going up from a $25,000 maiden, and where he's become, what he's become. Lily Curtin has done a great job with him.
Yeah, no doubt. She's got Uncle B, General McGooby, and Jane Sibeli, who's had a good run of things early on this spring, setting out Fearless Dragon, who seems to me to be a wise claim and a horse that, again, I might argue he's okay on the dirt. I think turf, he might be a little better with that second to global entry, and he got 0 pace last time out against Driven by Thunder and even Slim Shady, who was able to sit inside the entire race.
And I think that this will be a good test for him, because I really did always think that he was the kind of horse that can run all day. So he ran 9 furlongs mile on 16th. Now he'll try the mile, but I think 2 turns and those blinkers that she put on have seemed to help.
Race number 10 begins a main track late double. That's right, main tracking it here for the remainder of the show and the week at Gulfstream as we bring on this optional claimer $25,000 race at a 1-turn mile. Field of 6 set to go, and sure enough, top of the page. Why don't we start with him? We both picked this gelding by Parading on top, and perhaps just claimed at the right time because he was dominant and very good last time out against lesser foes. But I've seen this happen time and time again. Even when she was an assistant, the head assistant for Rick Dutrow Jr., Michelle Nevin, very sharp claiming. I know she's got some pretty good numbers.
She does, and here's one to just highlight that. And first after the claim, with winners last time out on the dirt. 9 for 25 and 19 for 25 in the money for 76%. It is a slightly negative ROI. You have to imagine these types of horses do take quite a bit of money. And Michelle Nevin is not as well known in South Florida. I think her horses are maybe getting a little bit more attention, and obviously we have a world of respect for her. But stepping up, you might get a little bit of a better price than you would ordinarily.
Definitely, because as you said, the horse is also stepping up in class, and she's not run that many down here. So let's try to stay ahead of the curve like Michelle often has had with claims in getting the #1 top of the page home in race number 10. We also have a lot of respect for the #2 Hookup, who's run some fast races in the past. He's done some okay things against some pretty good fields up in the Big Apple. He's now with Antonio Sano, and there's no reason just because he's so consistent. 1 for 13 aside, Mr. Attila seems like he's right there every time they bring him over.
He was a huge price last time out, and he probably shouldn't have been such a big price, but he ran a very good third, and it took him a while to break his maiden, but he's a very solid horse.
And Hookup will try to right the ship there with Antonio Sano looking to break off the duck for this newly begun spring meet, as that horse might be set to improve coming out of the same race as Mr. Attila. As we wrap things up, race number 11 brings down the curtain on April 15th here at GP. We've got these 3-and-up filly and mare $10,000 maiden claimers on the main track at 6.5 furlongs. Look at that. 3 outside, to be fair, from post out between Grace B, the #5 Wolf Eyes, and the real X Factor wild card in the 12 Harbin Ice on the big drop. It's hard to look at, or at least defend, some of the major big price fillies, or I should say colts and geldings in this 11th race, or rather fillies and mares, because you've got horses in here that just have had a lot of chances, haven't shown any consistency. Grace B, though, in terms of consistency, the one good thing with her is she normally flashes speed, and personally I thought that might be good enough to get the maiden diploma.
I'm in agreement with you, and especially with apprentice Raylu Gutierrez aboard again. She's 0 for 11, so she's one of those horses that has had a lot of chances, but she does have that speed. In fact, one of 2 in here for trainer Louis Duco. Now, as far as the 12 Harbin Ice, I remember her at the start of her career. She ran as a maiden in the Susan's Girl for Ralph Nix, and she at that time as a 2-year-old was just a very big, well-developed at the time filly. the wheels kind of fell off a little bit. They tried her on the turf to no avail, gave her some time, kind of coming back to the drawing board, it seems, and a big drop in class. So I'm curious what we'll get from her.
She's still a major player, and look forward to hear what you have to say about her when we get a glimpse pre-race for race number 11. But that's way down the pike. Let's not rush a beautiful day here in the neighborhood. Perfect weather for thoroughbred racing. Keep it locked here on Gulfstream today. We'll take a little time out. We'll be back before the first with the one and only Ron Nicoletti. And, well, we've got the set ready for the one and only upstairs. That is Pete Aiello, the voice of Gulfstream, coming up with those Sunday scratches and changes.